abridged code of Jewish law, and chapter 17, the laws of Kriya Shema, saying the Shema. Okay. Oh, two people came. Let's let them in before we start. So chapter 17, number 1. All right, for those who just joined us, chapter 17, just about to begin the chapter. Hilchas Kriya Shema, the laws of saying the Shema. So you thought just saying the Shema was straightforward and easy. You didn't realize there's the whole chapter of laws. But there is. Aleph, number 1. Is Chalas man Kriya Shema shel Shachris hu kamoi sheman tefillin. So the earliest time you can say Shema in the morning is the same time that you can put on tefillin. Right? It was what we said. It's a time called Mishiyakir, when you can recognize it's between blue and green. That's light enough. There's enough light outside. Tell them between blue and green. So it's about midway between dawn and full sunrise was totally lit up. Now, that's when it starts. V'nimshach zmana ad revi'as hayom. And it continues until a quarter through the day. Now, when we say the quarter, we're going to talk about halachic hours. So just to give a brief understanding what we mean by halachic hours. So halachic hours is we take the time as daylight or nighttime, if we're talking about the nighttime hours, but let's just deal with daylight now. And we, however long it is light, we divide into 12 equal parts. So in the middle of summer, that might be an hour and a half each on the clock. An hour and a half clock hours. Let's say it's light for 18 hours. So we'll have each halachic hour is an hour and a half clock hours. In winter, where the day is, the time there's daylight is short in the middle of winter, the shortest days of the year, could be 40, 45 minutes on the clock is a halachic hour. So when we say that, whenever we have times in Judaism, it's always halachic hours, based on halachic hours. That's why, for example, the times before Pesach, when at a certain amount of hours you can eat chametz, then an hour later you have to destroy the chametz. So it's a halachic hour. That's why the time varies depending when Pesach falls out. You know, this year is going to leap year, so it falls out later in the year. You know, it's etc. So that's the idea of these times. So we're going through a quarter through the daylight time. So 3 hours, 3 halachic hours. Bein shayom orech, bein shul kotzen. This is irrelevant whether the day is a long day or the day is a short day. Right? In other words, whether it's a summer's day and it's going to be a quarter way will be more time than the middle of winter, then it'll be a short time. So we calculate the day from dawn until the 3 stars come out. Now, it's actually not so straightforward. I'll just tell you there's a discussion. Again, this is the kits of the abbreviated code of Jewish law, but there's actually a difference of opinion. There's another view, and the other view is what the Alter Rebbe says, what Chabad follows, is that we calculate from sunrise until sunset. And so that'll be a later time. So sometimes when you look at the, you might see in a calendar or they put up in shul, the latest time to say the Shema, there's going to be 2 times. There's the opinion of the Magen Avram, which that's what he's quoting here. And then you'll see the opinion of the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon, which is they calculate it from sunrise until sunset, right? So it ends up being approximately an hour later on the clock. Again, it's going to vary with the year. And the same thing will apply to the Pesach times. You can see different sets of times to when a fast finishes and different things. So when you see those different times, that's usually what it is. It's usually what it is. So, a mitzvah in a muvchal de kroisa kavasikinin. Kavasikin. The mitzvah, the ideal way to say Shema is at Vasikin, which means just at sunrise. Many people aren't up then, so it's a little hard to do that. But this is the idea that you may have heard of Vasikin minyan. People doing that. That's what they do. They time it, so they say Shema right before sunrise, and then they say the Shemon Esrei, the Midah, at sunrise. Right? You're ideally not meant to say it before sunrise. So what they do, they time to say the Shema just a drop before Netzachama, before the sunrise. In order that they've completed the Shema and its after bracha, that it concludes, time it, the finishes just at the time of sunrise. And then they daven the Shemon Esrei, the Amidah, right after that, because you're not meant to have a break in between. And someone who does this, they daven that way to make this happen. There's an incredible amount of reward. Yes, Ben, was your hand up?
Can you tell me what page we are on?
Oh, sure. Sorry, chapter 17, in the middle of Aleph, number 1.
Thank you.
So that's the ideal world. In the ideal world, we should all have a minyan. There should be 1 minyan or 1 minyan time every day, and it should, we should all be up at dawn, and be ready to daven. Start our davening, put on tefillin between dawn and sunrise, and daven and daven the Shemon Esrei at sunrise. So that's the ideal world. As we don't live in the ideal world, of course, as we said, we have till the quarter through the day to say the Shema, and another hour after that to finish the Shemon Esrei. But the very least thing, if we can't manage to do our pre-sunrise Shema, we should be very careful, work very hard, that at the minimum we shouldn't postpone it after the quarter through the day. Says particularly in our countries, we're talking about Poland, Hungary. It's kind of place where they were. It was in Hungary in the summer, so they didn't have daylight savings time. So it actually got light very early. 3 o'clock it was light. So a quarter through the day was, even in a long summer's day, was 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever. So it says sometimes the latest time is before 7 a.m. Mikol Mokim. Nevertheless, if you didn't do, you have till the third of the day. But after the third of the day, you can't say the brachas anymore. If you didn't say Shema before till a third of the day, you can't say the Shema. So you meant to say it for a quarter of the day. If you didn't hit a quarter of the day, you have till a third of the day. And after that, you can't say the brachas anymore. You just say Shema. And even the entire day. Then he just has in brackets that there are some authorities that say that you could say the brachas the whole day. Okay. Base number 2. You're allowed to say the Shema whether you're sitting or standing. It's no problem. Now, why do we even have the discussion? Is because we have the verses in the Shema. It says, when you lie down and when you get up, is when you, it's seemingly when you say the Shema. So there was a view, or there was a school of thought in Talmudic times, actually in the times of the Mishnah, that the ideal way to say the Shema would actually be at nighttime lying down, and in the morning standing up. And that was not the accepted view. The accepted view in the Talmud was that when it says when you lie down and when you get up, it's not telling you the position of how you should be. It's telling you the time when you say it. It's at night time where people go to bed, they lie down, and it's the morning when people get up. It's not your position. So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch is just making it clear. You can say the Shema, you can be sitting, you can be standing. We don't actually walk around because it disturbs your concentration, because you can't give your full concentration to the Shema because you're paying attention to where you're going. Particularly the actual verse of the Shema when you cover your eyes. Right? It's not a good idea to be walking the street with your eyes covered. That's how you get introduced very quickly to street poles. Various things. Now, Vim Haya Yoshev, and we're talking about the morning Shema now, and if you happen to be sitting already, also the Hachmi V'Lamid, you're forbidden to stand up to start saying the Shema, because it looks like that you're going against the view of the sages, and you're saying, oh, you have to stand up. So if you're standing, you keep standing. But if you're sitting, you're not meant to stand up. I will also but you're not allowed to say the Shema lying down. That's day or night. If you're already lying down, you should recline, get up on your side a little bit. So you're not actually lying down. Obviously, someone who's not well, I had infection in my leg one time, nasty infection, and I had antibiotics in hospital by IV, and they also gave me a painkiller by IV. So I don't know if it was one of them or the combination. I was out of it. Right, I was actually absolutely out of it. But I was conscious enough that I knew it was getting late, and one of my sons helped me put on tefillin, and I did some poor excuse for davening in my half drugged out state. But I was lying down. It happened to be I was like semi-sitting position in the hospital bed. But if I would have been lying down, you're lying down. What are you going to do? Your person's in hospital. But we're talking about under normal circumstances. So if someone's not well or whatever it is, we don't force them, kick them out of their hospital bed and say, that's it, get up. You got to daven. It's they can. So, but if they're able to, they should get up on their side a little bit, like reclining. But if the person they're not so well, they're a little bit unwell, and it's difficult for them to do that. So here we're talking about someone sick a little bit. So at least they should go on their side. They should at least incline somewhat to one side. But again, it's only what a person can do. Right? So if it could be when a person is very unwell, they're could very well possibly exempt from saying Shema at all. But sometimes they got the energy to speak, but not the energy to move. May we never know from these situations. We should all be in good health, and should just be theoretical, God willing. Gimel, number 3. Kaidem shiaschil. Now, before we begin saying Shema, we should just pause for a moment. Yikaven the says mitzvahs kriya Shema shesavino kodesh baruch hu v'amar Shema Yisrael. And we should have in mind that I'm now about to fulfill the mitzvah of saying the Shema. That's what a person should do. So before they shouldn't say those words, because we're not meant to interrupt at that point in the middle of davening, but at least think it in our mind. We should think, I'm about to fulfill the mitzvah of saying the Shema. Yikaven as a Perush, Shema Yisrael, and you should have in mind, you have to think about the words. There's Hashem hu Elokeinu, the Hashem. In other words, you think that the Jews should Shema Yisrael often translate, they translate it, Hear, O Israel. Shema means actually to comprehend, to understand, to meditate on the idea that Hashem is our God, our personal God, and Hashem is one. Yachid Miyuchad b'Shamayim v'Oretz, totally unified with the heavens and the earth. And that's hinted in the word Echad, because we know each Hebrew letter has a numerical value. So Aleph is one, referring to the one God. The Ches is 8. Hashem is one in the 7 heavens and this physical world. And the Dalet is 4, and in the 4 directions of the 4 points of the compass. So throughout the entire physical world. And as you're saying that, v'yarech b'ches shel echad, we stretch out. So instead of saying echad, we say echad. Why? In order to think what we're saying, and also to accept that Hashem is our king of the heavens and the earth. And the Daled, which we said is the 4, we also extend slightly, having in mind, as we said, that Hashem is in all 4 directions. Now, we shouldn't drag it out too much. And while we're stretching, we have to make sure that we don't mispronounce the word. Through drawing it out. Some people draw it out, and they say echad. Right? They add another syllable, which you shouldn't do. And some people say echad, because they're dragging it, they're extending the d, so they go echad, which also is not the word anymore. So although we want to try and draw it out a little bit to have in mind the intentions of what we're saying, but we need to make sure also that we're pronouncing the word correctly. And if it's difficult to stretch it out without messing up the word, it's better to not stretch out, not to draw out the word, than it is to draw it out and mispronounce. Now the Hagin Loimes Pasuk Shema Yisrael B'Kol Ram La'ira Kavana says our custom, and again I'm not sure if it's a custom in most shuls today, but maybe it is. It's probably plenty of people do it, plenty of people don't. But this custom, he says, to say the verse Shema Yisrael in a loud voice, in order to arouse your kavanah, to put all your, everything you got into it. The simim yad smol al naim, and we put our right hand over our eyes. Right, this is so we don't get distracted, and also people, not noticing us being strained as we're concentrating. And after we say the word echad, so we finish that verse, we pause a small moment, and then we say, Baruch Shen Kavod Malchus HaLolam, blessed is the name of the glory of Hashem's kingdom forever and ever. Balachash, we say it in a whisper. Except for Yom Kippur, we say in the brackets. Yom Kippur we say it aloud, but every other day of the year we say it in the whisper. So we also have to think about the translation of those words as we say them. That's saying the first verse of Shema. Questions, comments? No, we're good. All right. So Dalet, number 4. Then Shoyma'at, then also pause for another moment. Then we start saying the paragraph, V'havta we shall love Hashem. V'chein bein Pasha Zoy the Pasha V'hayim Shemoy. And likewise, between each paragraph of the Shema, Yafsik Ma'at, we should just pause a small moment. V'chein Koidem V'yomer, V'yafsik Ma'at, and also before the next paragraph. V'chavim Pashas V'yomer, the Kai Mitzvahs Asir, is the Chirus Yes Misraim. And also, when we say the 3rd paragraph of Shema, the verse towards right at the end, it talks about going out of Egypt. And we have 6 mitzvahs that we're meant to do every day. And one of them is to remember the Exodus of Egypt. So as we say those words, we should have in mind that we're fulfilling that mitzvah. Many Sidurim, after the morning service, they have it printed, the Sheish Zechiros, the 6 remembrances. So Natilas Hashem, you have that. Probably most Sidurim today, or the art scrolls, or they have that. And these are the 6 mitzvahs that a person has to remember every day. And there is a opinion that remembering your mind is not enough. You actually have to verbalize it. And so it's in the Siddur. Many people say it after davening. But one of them is to remember the going out of Egypt. And as we say it in the Shema anyway, it's good to have in mind as you're saying that. Okay. Hey, number 5. So we're chapter 17. Siman Yud Zayin, Sif Hey, number 5. We should say the Shema precisely. The word should be said precisely and always accurately, very carefully from an edited siddur. Now today, Baruch Hashem, with computer graphics, art scholars take all the credit. They call it the art school revolution, right? That started, and to a large extent, it's true. Because they really, you look at the older Svarim before then. They weren't printed with the same clarity. There were other people moving in that direction, but they really. So I won't say they were first, but they certainly made it the norm. And after that, you have all these other companies, or Isvahada, and all the various publishers that now probably even overtaken ArtScroll. But you have now today very hard pressed to buy a new siddur that's not clear and exact. And Baruch Hashem, we have the best. But I it wasn't always like that. Like even I had a siddur that I got as in school sometime, and so on Friday night we say the Eishes Chayil, and we say Sheker Hachain is the word, Sheker Hachain. Maybe I've told the story before. That's right. And I had a siddur, and it wasn't the clearest to print, so it actually looked like Sheker Hachain. And I guess I started reading it when I was, I don't know, however old again. I don't remember exactly how old I got the siddur, but not around bar mitzvah, maybe a drop early, a drop later, whatever it was. And you just get used to saying something. You don't really pay attention sometimes to what you're saying. And fast forward a few years, I get married, and my brother-in-law, Rabbi Eli Smith, for those of you who know him, right? So he came to help me in my shul for Rosh Kippur, and I guess he heard me. And I know it's a Friday night. He's going, we're singing the Eishes Chayil, and he's going, Sheker ha-chain. So he wanted to give me the hint without actually. He didn't want to embarrass me by telling me, not saying it wrong. So he's like, and I was like, what's he doing that for? And then it took a few 2-3 weeks, and it dawned on me. That's how it goes, right? But that's how it used to be. You got the Sidurim; they weren't clear, like we have today.
Rabbi, what's Dikduk Gadol?
Means precise. They've been edited. They're exact.
Okay, Gadol.
Yeah.
Okay.
To high standards.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. People used to Dikduk mean grammar. But, it means, in this case, well, the truth is it is, right? I mean, that the vowels should be correct and all the various, should be the right variation of the word. All right, so that's, so Baruch Hashem, today that's not difficult to do. Everyone that we get, it's...
Well, they also mark for you now, the Shvana, the
that's
Shvana.
Right. Right, it's like you don't have to think anymore, which is another problem.
Oh, you have to think?
Yeah, you have to think,
Practical
but
thinking.
yes, but it's that's how it is. So you should say it. You should read. You should have an accurate text, and you should read accurately from the text. Now, obviously, everyone has to start somewhere. You know, when some people, when they first start reading Hebrew, perhaps they're not so accurate. So one can only do the best they can do, but that's what we should do, the best that we can do.
At least you learn it from an Ashkenazi rabbi.
You're right. Well, that's one way to do it. But, you know, whether you read Sfardit or Ashkenazi is in, you know, Western Europe or Eastern European accent, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
as long as you don't
Just to
switch.
be consistent.
That's
You
right.
show what you know by
Hebrew.
being consistent.
Correct. Not to have half the word one way and half the word the other way, which sometimes happens. If you grew up on one, you dive in a place for many years where it's a different way. But again, we do our best. Now you should say it loud enough that your ear at least can hear what you're saying. Okay, you don't say it loud enough that you're disturbing the guy next to you, but at least loud enough that you can hear what you're saying. Be careful. You know, this is like a base and a vase, a b or a v, these type of letters. So you should be careful to say the correct one. But again, today, Baruch Hashem, the Siddurim are very precise and has it for you. And so it's not like you have to work it out yourself. And every time there's a little like sort of line, so there's places in the Shema where you should pause to, you know, many things, if you put the comma in the wrong place, it changes the meaning of the sentence. So there's different places that we need to pause. And you'll see in the Shema that sometimes there's a line in the printed text of the Siddur. So if you have that, you pause for a moment. So not only Shema, but even Besukah the Zimra. It's not as important as Shema, but it's still important. We should try and be careful of these things. V'yatim yafa ha'ayin shel Teves nishba shelo yehei nishma kilo ama nishba b'hei. You have to be careful when you say nishba, not to say nishba. That sounds like a hey at the end. Right? So this is v'chein b'zayim shel tizkaru v'shel uschatem, because if people are saying it fast, not being careful, instead of saying tizkaru, it sounds like tiskaru. Right? So these you have to, you know, I grew up, there used to be a fellow in the shul, used to sit behind us, and I always used to him go, tizkaru. You know, he was being very careful about it. And I'm not making fun, chas v'shalom. You know, it's people being careful about things. It's, you know, yidakdek heitiv shloi nishma kilo oma besin. And also, we need to be careful in those where we have those zions. It's a z sound. It shouldn't sound like a s. So it's just and again, a lot of these things come from rushing. When we rush, we swallow syllables. We don't pronounce letters correctly. And sometimes, look, the mini goes fast. There's some minyanim that you know, they're I'm not going to say impressive because it's, you know, but it all depends. You know, we dive in a certain shul. I'm not going to say where, because we don't want to incriminate the guilty. But my oldest son was 17, and we dive in there, and you know, that made the fast minyan where we came from look slow. So after davening, my son says to me, "Was I meant to blink before davening or after?" And you know, so sometimes you can only do what you can do. But you know, although it's important to daven the Shemona Esrei with a minyan, if sometimes he's super paceman, it's better not done with a minyan. Just daven properly and be there, answer to everything, but say the words properly. Vav, number 6. Akari Krishma Shlo Yimaz Me'enov. When you're saying Shema, now obviously you can't speak the Shema. But not only you can't speak, You're not meant to even signal someone with your eyes. Or to, shape things out with your mouth, shape words out with your mouth. Or you make finger signals. And obviously, most common popular finger signals in today's society we should never do, even not in Shema, but not even to point to something or to show something. In the middle of Shema, there shouldn't be any interruption. Mitzvah. However, if it's for a mitzvah, in the second paragraph onwards, then you can. And there could be a time you see someone that the film's not on properly, or there's some other something that's associated with a mitzvah, and then so not in the first paragraph, which is the main part of the Shema, but from then onwards, if there's a need, you can. Okay, Zayin, number 7. Another example of mitzvah. Sometimes it happens if a person is in the brachas of Shema and they get called up to the Torah, so they can answer. They can say the blessings. They can't tell you what your name. They can't say what your name is, but the thing is, so this. I mean, it's not exactly the hand signals, but whatever. It's just saying the difference when it's a mitzvah, as opposed to you wouldn't say that many words if it wasn't for a mitzvah. But here you get called to the Torah. Okay, they shouldn't have called you if in the middle of the blessings Shema, but they didn't realize, and they called someone up. He's middle of Shema, so it's the idea of for a mitzvah be good. Certain mitzvahs. Zayin, number 7. Now, when we saying Shema, so when we're the blessing before, we say the words Havienu. We say all that should be brought from the 4 corners of the earth. So at that time, no till the tzitzis biyado, we take the tzitzis, the 4 corners of our garment, into a hand. And we hold them between the ring finger and the little finger of the left hand, at heart level. And when we come to the 3rd paragraph of the Shema, which speaks primarily about the tzitzis, then you also hold them with your right hand. And when you say the words, and you should look at them, tzitzis, you should look at them and kiss them. And also there's the mitzvah that every custom that every time you mention the tzitzis in this paragraph, we kiss the tzitzis. And we keep holding them until the paragraph after the Shema, till we say nechamadim la'ad. Then we kiss them again and we let them go. So that's the tzitzis.
In the paragraph, we do it 3 times, and at the end, you do the 4th time.
Yeah. Ches, number 8. Bamroi ani Hashem Elokeichem. Now, if you look in the Torah, that paragraph finishes with the word Elokeichem. But what do? Yoima miyad gam Teves emes. We straight away add the first word of the next paragraph, the word emes, truth. Shalahafsik b'nayim, so there's no break between the two. Now, not only do the congregants do that, also the chazan, the one leading the congregation, does the same thing. And he repeats Hashem Elokeichem emes. Right, he repeats those words because we're meant to have an extra 3 words. So we're going to see we'll see in a moment what we do if we daven on our own. But when we daven with the congregation, we don't have to worry about the extra 3 words because the chazan repeats those 3 words for us, and we go together with the congregation. Now, the Everyone should try and hear those three words from the Chazan. Hashem Elokeichem Emes. Ki be'elo shalosh Teves, because with these three words, Nishma Rach Teves Krishma, we complete the number 248. So if you ever get bored one day and you want to count the words in Shema, there's 245, or you can take my word for it. Your choice. And we want 248. Why 248? Keneged Ramach Avem Sheba'odam. This corresponds to the 248 limbs, for lack of a better translation, in our body. Now, when we say limbs, normally in English, when we say limbs, we mean the larger parts, the arms, the legs, And if you're talking about every time there's a little bone or something, there's probably more than 248. But there's a list of 248, how we divide up the human body, how the Torah divides up the human body. And we want to serve Hashem with our entire being, entire physical being as well. So therefore, we want to have 248 words. So therefore, that's why the Chazan adds these three words. And after the Chazan finishes Emes, then we keep going for Yatziv, etc. I will also loima oid pam Emes. You can't say the word Emes twice, right? Because if you say the word truth twice, it looks like Hashem Elokeichem Emes. Hashem's the true God. Emes, and there's another truth. God forbid. I feel funny saying it, but just to explain why it's a problem. So we shouldn't say that twice. So that's what we do when we daven with the minyan. The Chazan says an extra three words on behalf of the community, and we listen and we get an extra three words. Mi shemispalim b'chidus, and those who are davening without a minyan, for whatever reason, yoyim kaidem krishma kel melech neman. So they say before the Shema, the three words, kel melech neman, the God, the trustworthy king. Now, in Chabad and other places, they do it differently, because by adding the words there, it's in between the bracha and the Shema. So try not to have a break. So what they do is at the end of the Shema, they repeat, say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, then they go back, Ani Hashem Elokeichem Emes. That's if they're davening on their own. But both are the same idea. Lahashim Mishlosh Teves Elu, in order to have this additional, complete the number with these words, then you ramach the number 248. It's an important thing to do. Number 9.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Hashem Elohechem Emet. So
Yes.
you say it twice, though. I mean, when you say the Chazan says it, yes, and then it's said again, in the next line, Hashem Elohechem Emet. So you are saying truth twice.
But not MS. That's the problem.
But it's right. It's right.
The Chazan says Hashem Elokeichem Emes, and the congregation says Hashem Elokeichem Emes, but they're not. No one's saying Hashem Elokeichem Emes. So it's not the fact that someone says a phrase twice. The problem is by saying just that word twice. It gives another meaning to the phrase. Looks like there's two truths. Hashem's true, and there's Chas v'Shalom something else that's true besides Hashem. God forbid.
Because it's even if the Chazan says it, and then the congregation says it, it's right. They're right next to each other. So
but they're saying the whole phrase, not just the word. When you add just the word, then it looks like there's two. God forbid. But when one person says the phrase and another person or group of people says the phrase, so each one says the whole phrase, that Hashem is the emes. It's not one person saying the word emes twice, once after the other.
Yeah, and in the two paragraphs following the Shema, the word emes is found numerous times.
That's right. But did I
Yes.
answer your question properly?
Yes, yes, you did,
Super,
Rabbi.
yeah.
Rabbi,
Yeah, but yeah.
what you do is you say the last two words of the one paragraph with emet right next to it, without you don't just follow with the word emet after the chazan. You say all three
Well,
words
in many
together.
Sephardic shuls they do. The chazan says Hashem
Right,
Lekechem
Hashem Elokeichem
Emet,
Emes, and
and,
they all
the
yell
congregation
Emes.
says it after him. So that's what he's
Well,
referring to.
I wait for him to say Adonai Elohim, and then I say Adonai Elohim emet.
Okay, all right. So it's ideally you should probably finish before the chazan and then listen to his 3 words. So that's how you get the 248.
Oh,
But
okay.
okay, that's so okay. Test number 9. Im hisik be'emsa krishma. A person interrupted during Shema. So we'll see why. How Dahaino min Shema Yisrael ad al haaretz. Right. So from the time it said Shema Yisrael until the end of the second paragraph, there was some type of interruption there. Machmas oinus was a no fault of your own. Shahaya muchach lahavsik. You are forced to interrupt. Kagoin, he's given an example. Shai tzarach, let's say, tzarachov, person had to run to the bathroom suddenly. Or shenimsa tzoi bias, so they found something, human waste or animal waste in the room, and you can't daven there. Or God forbid, we should never know from these things, but something happens in Israel. The air raid siren goes off, and you just got to run to the shelter. Right? That happens. These things, you can be whatever the reason. In other words, if a person, we're not talking about now someone who just turned around, just had a conversation with someone. We're talking about someone through no fault of their own had to interrupt. Now, the guy was Hatzalah person. They got a call, or even he was just the dispatcher and he had to dispatch someone, whatever happens to be. Im shaha meshech zman shahai sheyachalo mekol krishma. If the interruption took the time that it would take to say the whole Shema, and that could vary slightly person to person, then tzarach lachzor the chilus krishma. So then when you go back to it, you need to start back at the beginning. So if it was just a very short interruption, just a minute, whatever it is, then you just continue from where you left off. But if the interruption, and again, it's not anyone's fault. We're talking about things that are beyond one's control. It's not your fault. But if the Shema gets interrupted for the length of time it takes to say the whole Shema, then you have to start back at the beginning. And it happens. I used to, one of the places I used to have in Australia was a fellow used to sit opposite me, the other side of the table. And he was in a tzala, and not every Shabbos, but sometimes there was a few people took a turn. He was a dispatcher. So he had the cell phone for when it called in, and he had a radio to be the dispatch. So it would ring, you just quickly run out of the shul. I mean, everyone knew, he was the Hatzol person. He wasn't just talking on the phone on Shabbos. And in the foyer, he took care of it, and he came back in, And other days, I guess he was on duty. Other Shabbos he was on duty. He ran. But he had to interrupt. That's what you have to do. And then, depending on how long was interruption, it depend, what happened. It's funny. I don't want to get sidetracked, but we had the same name. The name's Joseph David for both of us, and our father's name. Both our fathers have 2 names, and one name was the same. And the gabbai, the person who did the call-ups in the shul, used to often get confused, and he would call one of us up, and he would say this first name, and then the names of the father, he would get them one name from one and one name from the other. So it wasn't either of us. And neither of us knew who got called up, but he like looking our direction. We're right. You're like, no, like, why don't you? It was, we have to, it was quite regularly with us. Okay, all right, who was it? That was happened several occasions. Anyway, Yud. Kara Krishma v'nichlas, so number 10. Kara Krishma v'nichlas b'beis knesses and matzivish going Krishma. Now, a person he already said Shema. Either he davened with the early minyan, or he was worried he might get the shul late after the time saying the Shema, so he said it. Whatever reason, he already fulfilled the mitzvah of Shema. And he comes into a shul, and the congregation is saying the Shema. Now, we're emphasizing a congregation, not an individual. What an individual does is whatever. But he comes in, and there's a minyan saying Shema. So tzarich kol Krishma. Now, ideally, we say he should say the whole Shema with them. We're going to say afterwards the minimum, just the first verse and the Baruch Shem. But in concept, he should say Shema with them. Why? Here you have the whole congregation accepting Hashem's kingship upon themselves, and if he's in the shul and he's not joining in, it looks like he doesn't want to accept Hashem as the king, Hashem, or he's not interested, he's against it, he doesn't believe in it, whatever it happens to be. None of them are good options. So if he doesn't join in with them, it looks like Chas v'shalom, he's not part of it. Doesn't want to be part of it. So that's why the congregation saying the Shema, person should cover their eyes and they say Shema. As we said, in the ideal world, they should say the whole Shema, all 3 paragraphs. We're going to see in a minute, not necessarily, but if one has the time and the ability, they should. The Kabel schar k'koya b'Torah, and as well, he gets the reward for like learning Torah, saying words of Torah. You can't do the mitzvah Shema twice in the one day. Once you fill the mitzvah, you fill the mitzvah. But at the end of the day, the entire Shema is made up of verses from the Torah. So when one says the Shema a second time, they're doing the mitzvah of learning Torah, of saying verses from the Torah, so they could do that.
Rabbi,
Now, yeah.
So if we are going to Shachrit, we shouldn't say Shema at home?
Well, it really depends. No, first of all, there's no problem saying it at home. There's no problem. You can say Shema earlier and again in shul.
Oh,
But
okay.
and very often, sometimes Shabbos it starts a little bit late, and Shabbos starts late.
Yeah, there
and
is
sometimes
more than a couple hours in between.
yeah, and sometimes that might mean they don't say Shema till after the time, and so you really have to say it before you go to shul. But it could be you davened in an earlier minyan. It could be lots of different reasons.
Right.
You daven in a different shul, and you're going to meet someone. Whatever it happens to be, it doesn't really matter the reason why. But just don't matter if a person had fulfilled the mitzvah saying Shema already, and they go somewhere. Person might go visit 770 example. There's another minyan every 5 minutes in a different part of the room, and you're going in and all right. So it's not only Shema, the Hua Din, the same idea applies. In Beis Knesses, he's in the shul, and they're saying certain things. You're saying things where you're allowed to interrupt. So in other words, let's say you're saying Tehillim after davening, or you're saying the Kabbonis, the preliminary parts of the davening, and the saying Shema, so you also say with him. And then in brackets, ve'im oimed makom she'ein rashai nismar le'il. So if it's a place where you can't interrupt, he explained earlier. So it was the last chapter, you recall. Some of the verses are praise. So the Zimra, we said you can't say the first verse of Shema as an example. So that's if you already said Shema, you should say it, and you happen to come across a congregation saying Shema, you should say it with them. Let's say you didn't say Shema yet. Korigam came in a sibur. You should also say it with them. But now what you have to do, if you're not running out of time, you should have in mind not to fulfill your obligation. You should specifically have in mind not to fulfill your obligation. So that way, afterwards, let's say you're going down with the 7 o'clock minyan, and you walk in, and the 6:30 minyan is saying Shema when you came in. So although you should say Shema with them, because you don't want to look like you don't want to accept Hashem's kingship, Chas V'Shalom. But when you're davening the 7 o'clock minyan and at 7:25, whatever it is, you're going to say Shema. You want to fill the obligation then when you said the brachas before and afterwards. So you have in mind the first time not to fulfill the mitzvah. Okay. Similarly, anything else that the congregation says together, kind of the David, some places say the Ashrei, they say it together. Most places don't anymore. Va'aleinu, Kedaim Aleinu is an important part. Aleinu we should say with the congregation. Unfortunately, poor Aleinu, because it's at the end of davening, it's actually a very powerful and a very important tefillah, part of davening. And because it's basically the last thing, unfortunately, it's often said people are rolling up their talis tefillin and running out the door, and it's unfortunately, but it's a very important piece. We should always say Elena with a minyan, Kedom and the like. But Philip piyutim, even if you happen to come to a place where they're saying piyutim, piyutim, we don't have an exact translation in English. It's related to the word poet, poetry, but it's actually tefillos, and it's Rosh Hashanah Kippur. We add there's a lot of extra bits added to the repetition. That's not actually part of the repetition. They're piyutim, but there are many shuls that say piyutim on special occasions. The various special Shabbases, Shabbos Gadol, Shabbos Zachar, Pashas Para, all these different things, or at other times of the year. So if you happen to come to a place and the congregation is saying piyutim, so the chazan saying something, everyone's responding, then you should join in. While yifresh es atzmin etziva, a person shouldn't separate himself from the congregation. And I just want to discuss that point a little bit. There is this concept of not separating yourself from the tzibur. Now, obviously, that's only for positive things, right? If there's a group of people doing something that you're not meant to do, God forbid, on the contrary, you must separate yourself from them, right? You don't join in. But if people are doing things that are positive, a person shouldn't separate. So even, let's say, sometimes, between Mincha Mariv in the shul where I daven, so the rabbi of the community teaches various halachas between Mincha Mariv. Now, in concept, in theory, I would like to do my own thing. Bring my whatever I'm happy to be learning at the time and learn at that time. But even if to learn something else, it's not right, and it could even perhaps look disrespectful to the rabbi to separate from the congregation and be doing something else when they're doing that. So even if I do bring another sefer to shul and I learn it while I'm waiting for the repetition or something, when they're doing something as a group, like the rabbi teaching everyone, I close my sefer and I join in what the congregation's doing. That's an example.
Chalamite, we by us, when I grew up, we used to take the people who put on tefillin and put them behind the mechitza. So you didn't have odd
you have
people
to do,
back and forth.
Yeah, that's not even a custom. But that's right, because although there are different customs about putting on tefillin cholamoid, everyone has to do one or the other.
Our shul was a Hasidic shtibel,
so you didn't. So that had to be one or the other. There's a story like that get into sidetrack, but there was a fellow who I'm not sure exactly how old he was during the war, but he was in camps. He was young, but survived. And when he, after the war, he came to America, and he went to the yeshiva where Reb Moshe Feinstein in New York, MTJ, where he was the Rosh Yeshiva. And Reb Moshe Feinstein was this war orphan, so he sort of took him under his wing, and and looked after him. He didn't have parents. Unfortunately, they died in the war. And the boy, he didn't remember many of his family minhagim, many of his family customs, because they had the war years. We couldn't do anything. And even before that, he had trauma. He couldn't remember exactly many of his family customs. So he decided anything he can't remember, he's going to do whatever Reb Moshe Feinstein does. That's what he'll do. So he saw in the yeshiva, the Chol Hamoed, Reb Moshe Feinstein put on tefillin. So he also put on tefillin Chol Hamoed. Came out years later, almost at his son's bar mitzvah, he finds out that in fact Reb Moshe Feinstein did not put on tefillin. His custom was not to. He was from a Chassidish family. But since if you're davening in a minyan where everyone's wearing tefillin, you should as well. So when he davened in the yeshiva, he wore tefillin then. So he came to Reb Moshe and he says, "What should I do?" He says, "I only wore tefillin Chol Hamoed to be like you, and I find out really you don't. What should I do?" So he said to him, "You have been doing all these years. You should keep doing it, but your son shouldn't. He's about to be a mitzvah. He shouldn't wear tefillin Chol Hamoed."
He should not. So he goes back to the old.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to say father, your son, no, but Reb Moshe can say these things, and we're not going to argue with him. But so this is that idea of we don't separate from the congregation. Also, and lots of other things. So anything that's positive, there might be certain things that you go to a community, they do something, a certain custom that has a nice idea. It's not, you personally wouldn't have done it if you weren't there, but they're doing something nice, so don't separate. You join in, and it's all right. So that is that's Al Tivah Shemina Tzivah. So whenever there's something positive, we should make sure that we join in and we're part of it. Obviously, doesn't mean one overcommits, right? So again, as
Rabbi,
yes.
What about if somebody marries a man marries a woman who's of a different minhag, and let's say she's from the Syrian minhag, and he wants to maintain his minhag, okay, and he goes into a shul, can he do both? He can put on the tefillin according to the Syrian minhag, and
so the first thing is I hope we're speaking theoretically, because I don't want to get into anyone's shalom bias discussions here in public. But no, I'm just joking. But the generally the minhagim of family go after the husband. Generally, what you'll find though is when it comes to kashrus or what you eat on Pesach, don't eat on Pesach, the wife her customs end up going because she's the one doing it. And she's not giving in to your leniency. So you end up finding when it's families like that, often what happens is they keep the stricter of the two.
And with a Syrian girl, you just make a settlement with her brothers.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna wade into that one. But we can but in general customs of the house usually go after the but when I say usually, when people I don't like to use the word dating. It's not a Jewish word, but in the shidduch, the courting maybe is a better term. So one of the reasons for that is to discuss a lot of these things. So a lot of these things, if there's different minhagim, or someone has certain expectations, they should try and resolve and talk that out before the shidduch. So if there were certain agreements, maybe although I said that generally the customs go after the husband, maybe the agreement was the customs go like the wife. So whatever agreements are made, that's the agreement. You can't.
No, he uses paper plates.
When you say going according to the more machmir minhag, you're talking about how would you define that according to the Sfaradim?
Well, that I was talking about. We often find that with food, kashrus, particularly on Pesach. You find that because what happens is Okay, I'm just going to make up something silly,
The
right?
grubs.
Well, not so
Yeah.
silly. I know someone who doesn't eat kiwi fruit on Pesach. Why?
Oh.
Because his grandparents in Hungary never ate kiwi fruit. Okay, just because it never made it there. It wasn't a religious thing, but still, he only eats what his family ate. Good.
Right.
Okay, fine. So in his house, they don't eat kiwi. Now, the wife's house, maybe she didn't eat, I don't know. Now I have no idea, but maybe they didn't eat pineapples either, because where they lived, there was no pineapples. So what ends up happening is they don't have kiwis and don't have pineapples. Now that's not really halacha or a minig per se, but I'm just to illustrate the point. What ends up happening is that people, often what happens, again, I'm not saying this is what has to happen. I'm just saying what often happens is when it comes to kashrus or Pesach, it ends up being the stricter of the two, because the wife, she's not going to go lenient on something she has to do, and she's the one making the food. Okay, an extra stringency that you do, will also do if you want. But, the custom of how to put on tefillin, I don't think that needs to change. So, again, if people made an arrangement for the shidduch, so be it. So I better be 1 second. But normally, I don't think you have to. If you go to a different shul, you don't have to change how you put on tefillin.
Hungarian Jews who do marry Syrian Jews, and and sometimes the Hungarian, the man will be Hungarian and the woman will be Syrian, but she wants to maintain her minhag, So can he go into a Syrian Beit Knesset, and can he wear his tefillin in that?
Look, you can go to any shul you like, and it's nice to go to different shuls. And it's actually something, just a side point, I think it's very good to take your children to different styles of shuls. They should have exposure. They should know that even if it's not our custom, this is an authentic Jewish custom, and it's holy. And you shouldn't have the situation where it's only everyone has to be exactly like me, and we laugh at other people. Chas v'shalom. So it's very good to go to the shuls. If it's a shul where they don't wear tefillin, then it's halacha. You can't wear tefillin there. So that's why often people who wear tefillin, so let's say where I daven here, they don't wear tefillin a chol hamoed, and those who do wear tefillin, they daven in the ladies section. That's what happens. And they take off the tefillin a halal, and then they come join the in. Or they could make a separate minion if there was enough. The different things like that. So those kinds of things. I don't think. Let's say, for example, I go to a shul and they might say a piece of davening, slightly different wording to how I do it. So I don't necessarily have to change, but it doesn't mean that I shout mine out the top of my voice. It's not respectful.
Or if they give you, they give you the yamud, you do it the way they do it.
That's right. So if you lead when you lead the services in the place, you have to do it in the nusach of the shul. But I was talking about if I went to whatever shul, I sometimes daven in a Bacharian shul, sometimes daven in a Litvish shul, and neither of them have the exact same customs I do. I just do my thing.
Well,
and
I'm
I think generally speaking,
it's ending, but I'm a chiyuv still. So sometimes I go across the street to the Lubavitch shul. So I do a yatzmach per karne, and I do 3 extra kadeshim, and it's a wonderful life. That's all.
right. I think generally people don't mind as long as it's not shtick. No one wants you to come and stir and do your shtick. But if generally people, if they see that you do your thing and quietly and the thing, people don't mind, and they're even pleased that you do it. So, Moshe, you want to say something else?
Well, I just wanted to ask, it's not showing disrespect for the kahal if you put on a pair of Ashkenazi tefillin in a Syrian.
No. When everyone's wearing tefillin, you can wear whatever tefillin you like, and you strap it on the way that you like. I mean, as long as it's a official minig. Yeah. Not when I say any way you like. I mean, according to halacha, the proper way. Yeah, with Messiah. Yeah, there's no disrespect at all. And if it's a place where people are going to get offended by every little thing, then the self might be a reason not to daven there. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So wish everyone.
Well, I did that once, and of course, I was sitting in somebody's seat.
Oh, double sin. Okay, we've gone a little overtime. I apologize. So wish everyone a wonderful week. And
Oh, thank you, Rebbe.
Thank you,
Shabbos.
Rabbi.
Take care.
Have a
Thank-
wonderful week, all.